Un billón está en mi mente, yo sé que es mucha gente. Un billón está en mi mente. Hello and welcome to Un Billón Mindset. I am Marisol Uribe, your host, aka Enfermera Marisol. And today I have someone very special on the show. His name is Martin Bravo. His stage name is Savage Saint. And he is actually the producer of my song Un Billón. And so I'll have you introduce yourself. Welcome.
Thank you, Marisol. I love being here. This is awesome what you got going on. First and foremost, wanted to get that out of the way. But it's my pleasure to be here. Finally, right?
It's
Um,
overdue.
yeah, it's overdue. But yeah, just to reintroduce myself, I'm the producer behind the Un Billón song, and it was a beautiful piece of art in the works when it came about. I'm actually really impressed, not impressed, but really grateful and proud, with no ego behind the word proud, but just overall it was awesome being a part of it. And the way things just came about, now you made it into a podcast, named it, you got the shirt on, rocking the Un Billón. Everything is awesome. It's just, everything is coming together. um, yeah, so I do go by Savage Saint. Um, that's my stage name since I was young, and it's just stuck. I never changed it. I always used it in everything that I did.
How
And
did that come about? When did that name begin? Under what circumstance? What inspired that name, Savage Saint? I love it.
oh, that's a good question. The best way I can put it, I adopted it, honestly. I didn't, come up with it. But it just fit me so well, at least I believe so, because I think I was playing a video game when I was really young, and I just like saw someone had that name,
Mm,
and I looked it up, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Like it was almost like like they invented it or something. And I googled it, and nobody had that name. Nobody was really doing anything with that name. But then it kind of had a ring to it, the whole contradiction in the same. um it's called an oxymoron in English.
yeah.
When something contradicts itself. So it really intrigued me, because I was like, well, I think I'm like that, because my zodiac sign is a Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
and Geminis are known to, I'm gonna bash myself here, but we have multiple personalities.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I can be nice to people, and I can also be, kind of not mean, but the opposite direction.
Yeah, like flip the switch.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's just how, I started using it. As time passed, I just kept adopting it in more ways. I was like, you know what, this really defines who I am as a person. And um and then people started calling me, when I was in really young in school, they would call me that name, because it was just always my nickname.
Hey,
um
Savage, Savage this, Savage that.
yeah.
Hey, you could do that. You're a savage.
Yeah, and it was just, but it's come a long way. I'm really grateful that I was able to use that. It's never copying in this world. I think it's just being inspired by others. The person that I adopted it from has no idea, but little do they know that it pretty much shaped my entire, life and career with just a name.
And that beginning, what you explained about how you looked it up, you made sure it wasn't in use for other projects. You did your due diligence with that. You did your due diligence there. So, it's amazing how it became your inspiration. And I know you have faith, right? In a religious background. So can you tell me more about that and how also you feel comfortable even using the word saint in your name to begin with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, um, I'm gonna be fully transparent. I was not always even today I don't call myself necessarily religious. I like to
Okay.
say that I have a relationship with God, right? And when I first used that name, I didn't think much of the whole saint part. It was more just like, oh well, a saint is a person that, it's is nice,
Followed God.
right, exactly. But as I got older, I was like, you know what, this really does make sense in that way, because I can be a saint, as far as, being nice to people, following God, like you
Mhm.
said. Then I heard the story of Saint Lazarus. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yes, yes. I am actually Catholic, so, I think we're all called to be saints in our own way. So go ahead, tell me more about Lazarus.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's one of the stories that really, caught me. I think I was in church and they just said the Lazarus story, and believe it or not, it was the first time I had heard it. uh,
Oh,
and it was like,
about how he rose from the grave?
yeah, exactly. He, like, God just called upon him, like, wake up, and
Mhm.
I was
And
like,
there he went, up
yeah.
and walking.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what, this really connects with me because I've had some situations in my life where I really believe, God was there for me and was able to, quote unquote, do that for me. Um and it just like I said, the name aged well because it just kept connecting with me in a deeper way. Now I truly believe, like, I think the name really does fit me as a person. um but like anything, I mean, it just starts small, right? And then you just keep adding to the fire.
Right, and I like what you said earlier about how you don't necessarily consider yourself a religious person, but more so someone who's choosing to have a relationship with God. I feel like there's so many examples, so many people that per se model a certain faith, but that doesn't necessarily have to be you, right? There's no one size fits all for anybody and everyone. So if you're listening to this, just take what resonates with you, and what doesn't, just respectfully leave it or listen on. And we love everybody here. No judgment. So
Absolutely.
what I want to get into next is you're the producer of the Un Billon song. So I want to get into just that whole day, how we did it, because to be honest, it was a miracle day. I wouldn't have made it back home if I didn't stop at the emergency department first. Like, that's how eventful it was. Um, and I've told this story before, how you live up north. That's where your studio is. And I'm further south than you here in Southern California. And I had to leave my house at 4 a.m. to get to you. By 10 was our appointment time. And sure enough, I arrived. I told Martin what happened. I'm like, hey, I hardly drank or ate anything. I just wasn't feeling it. It was way too early. And then on the commute, I stopped, like, at this Taco Bell or Del Taco, one of the two. And I never eat there, for one. And secondly, I'm like, okay, let me just get a breakfast burrito. And that wasn't well perceived. But anyway, I got to you. And Martin is so sweet, guys. Like, he hooked it up with some coconut and water.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is
I
which
remember.
is what I could handle at that point. I'm like, "Wow, okay, this is perfect." And, if you guys listen to Jesse Itzler or know his work at all, he talks about how he eats fruit until noon, like, that's his breakfast. And that's how he breaks his fast, right? After all those hours of you sleeping, you're not eating, you're fasting. So that's a good tip right there from a health perspective. If you wanna break your fast in a healthy way, you can absorb fruit very quickly and get that absorbed and digested into energy fairly quickly. more so than if you mix fruit with a carb. So, just my nursing tip of the day right there. But anyway, so we got there. We start hearing some beats, and then we start making our lyrics. And tell me more about what you remember.
Okay, so just before it leaves my mind, I think it's hilarious that you mentioned the fruit part because um, every time that I've ever had people at my studio, I always have fruit for them. I don't know why. It's like here's some pineapple, and they're just writing music or something,
It
or
works. Hey,
yeah,
it got our digestive juices going and our mental cognition with clarity. So that worked.
yeah, absolutely. But it's just it was like not deja vu, but it was just awesome that that it just happened again, and it was like, man, I always have fruit. But anyways, what I do remember from that day, I want to trace back a little bit just so I can mention something. Um,
Sure.
uh, Marisol amazingly surprised me that day in the way that like she really put her actions to speak louder than her words. The most important thing from that day was that you made it. Like that was the most surprising, not surprising, but it was just so mind-boggling for me because I was like, wow, from 5 hours north. Don't get me wrong, I always travel down there, and I know I had traveled down there in the past as well for I think we had a meet as well in the past.
Mhm.
But it's just awesome for you to have done it. And yeah, I mean 4 a.m. That sounds about right because that's around the time that there's no traffic from LA, right?
Yeah. And you know what too? I think it's surprising if you have a history of people that cancel on you or want to postpone, because we actually set the meeting quite quickly. It was about the day before or perhaps 2 days notice. And I just committed to my word. I remember at the time I lived with my mom and my brother. I didn't even tell anyone at home. I just said, "Gosh, I think it's one of those things where if you share it, it'll be looked down upon, or they might talk me out of it." Because again, my mom would have been concerned about the commute time and the location, right? "Oh, all the way up there, mija. I would like to go with you." You know, maybe she would have offered to come with me, and at that point, you know, when it's more than one person in the car, you can't just think of yourself, right? You have to have other considerations, like if they're hungry, if they want to use the restroom. And so I just thought, let's limit the obstacles, the excuses, right? And I'm going to commit to my word and I'm going to make that happen. So that's kind of what was in my mind, and thank you for acknowledging me, but I think we need more of that in the world. We need more responsible people to stay accountable to their word, be early to their appointments, punctual. Punctuality, I find to be a strong suit because it speaks volumes. It lets me know you're serious. And so go on.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I definitely agree with all those points. Most importantly, like I said, showing up, you did it, and that's what really got the show started. I mean, as soon as you got here, you had this fire in your eyes that it kind of transferred over to me, and I was like, man, first of all, I knew how far you came.
Yeah.
So I was already like prepared, for the energy. But
Mhm.
but even when we got together in the studio and started working, I I think I had asked you. I don't remember if I had asked you before or during, but I was like, have you ever made music before? And you were like, no.
No.
And, like the thing about that was like I was I was um I was asking that so I can know what to, in what direction to guide the session, because as a producer, it's very important to understand your co-partner in the making, which is the artist, and know what they're planning,
Right.
and that's just kind of how things become smoother and whatnot. But I think it was awesome just how it became, because I think first thing, yeah, like you said, first thing we did was we played beats. I love that part because that's it kind of gets things like into the groove, like, okay, this is what we want.
Yeah, it
um
helps with the quick inspiration. And also too, I wanna mention that question, "Hey, is it your first time? Are you experienced?" It's such a normal question for you to ask because you're right. If I had said yes, you would have known, "Okay, she's not a beginner. Um, let me ask her maybe if she wants to start with the beats or with the lyrics," because there's different ways to go about it. And so me saying no gave you almost like the permission or the okay to school me, right, from the beginning, which I really appreciated. Um, you could tell me anything there is to know about production, and I would have loved to hear it because, again, it's like a kindergartner, right? You want to be a sponge. You don't want to act like an eighth grader when over here you're barely starting to walk. So appreciate your
exactly.
guidance with that.
Absolutely, and shouts out to you as well for admitting and willingly being able to remain a student, because I think the most important thing is to always remain a student. That's something that's very important. Even if you I'm gonna go ahead and say it, even if you're experienced, I think it's very important in all areas of life for us to remain students. But you did such a good
That's
job
true.
handling that, because um like you said, when as soon as you did say that it was your first time, I was like, okay, I think that we're gonna go in this direction, we're gonna try this, we're gonna do that. But first and foremost, it was the way that you were able to, you know think and act right there then and there. It was like, hey, you should do, I think we were messing with the lyrics,
We
right?
were. Yeah, we were initially writing them down. You gave me a couple minutes. I said, "Hey, yeah, let me eat my fruit real quick. Give me a couple of minutes." I wrote down what was on my mind. I just did a brain dump. Almost like it took me back to when I would be about to take a test in nursing school, and I would just take a random piece of paper and write everything that I would remember. And then I'd take the test and I'd pass. And so I thought, okay, I have all these ideas. I already know my bio by heart. So, first person, I'm the one that's lived this stuff. Um, my parents came to mind because I knew that they did the hardest part in coming here in the first place, immigrating to the United States. And I'm not the only one with this story. So let me might as well share it. And we kind of went from there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that really connected with me as well. It's crazy how you're saying that, we're not the only ones. I'm gonna go ahead and include myself there, because part of my story, and I think talking about a story, I think we had this conversation before, way before we made the song, about how important it is to have a story in our
Yes.
lives, because what really changed me from, um maybe the right term here is first impression. From
Hmm.
making a first impression, what you want to do is you want to have something that is meaningful, like purposeful. And in the song you did just that. I mean, literally the song describes exactly who you are, what you're about, and what you're doing, and
Love it. Yeah.
yeah, and just like you said, it was a brain dump, which is exactly how it should have been, right? I think right before that you had asked me, like, what do I write? Or can you help me with the lyrics? And
Yeah.
I was like, well, what do you want to, what do you want to talk about? Or I forgot how I asked you, but you pretty much said everything. And then I was like,
That.
here's a pen and here's a paper. I mean, yeah.
Yes. That simple. And then I just wrote it down. But it really helped to just talk it out initially. It was probably like 2 minutes of sharing. And then I'm like, "Okay, yeah, let me just write it down now."
Yeah,
Genius. So very good at guiding you on how to write a song if you're listening to this and you're close to his location, which where are you based right now?
I'm in Delhi, California, just south of Turlock, California. If anybody's familiar with the Central Valley in California.
As soon as I knew that you were open to collaborating and making a song, I dropped what I was doing and I made sure to make this appointment with you. And everyone that's listening now, if you want to make a song too, Martin has a very, very busy schedule. But I think if you tell him that you're a listener of the Umbiyon podcast, he might squeeze you in. But this is such a great opportunity because a song is like a book, like a podcast, something that you publish once and you can have out there forever. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm grateful to have met you to even have this opportunity to begin with. So thanks for that, Martin.
You're welcome. Let's talk about that real quick. Where did we meet again?
We met at the Driven event. Speaking of Driven, that is by the founder Albertopreciado, who is a entrepreneur, multiple businesses based in Bel Air, California. So Los Angeles, the hub of all the stars, celebs, A-lists. That's where we met.
Absolutely, yes. And we met at a seminar at a networking event.
That's
And
right.
that
And
networking event, it was a big deal. Not only because I got to meet amazing individuals like yourself, but that was the whole point, right? I mean, who knows? Only God, only the universe can tell if we would have ever came about to meeting and creating the song if we wouldn't have both been at the same room. Um, I know specifically you and I were part of the more exclusive group, if I could say,
yes.
of that whole. I think it was out of what there was probably 500 plus people there, right?
Yes, but depending on the ticket that you get is how close you sit to the stage, and I believe we both had founder tickets or the CEO tickets, the top tickets. And so I think investing in yourself, let's talk about that. How important it is to, like you said in the beginning, remain a student, seek knowledge, and not be the smartest person in the room because it's only then that you will get more tools to live your life as best you can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely haven't shared this with just anybody yet. I've shared it with very few selected people, but I'm definitely going to be releasing like my own type of probably video on Instagram or something about this. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it here first. So in the last 12 months, in my life, I've scaled the most and the fastest ever. Reason being because I pretty much invested the highest amount in self-improvement, in self-development, personal growth that I have ever done in my life. And to be specific, I'm gonna go ahead and say the number. I think if I were to add all the tabs, I'm thinking over 40 grand in the last 12 months. And some people,
I am with you. Oh my goodness.
right?
Yeah,
And
I know what
and
you mean.
and so some people they say like, oh well, I've had several people tell me like, oh well, where's all that money going and stuff like that. I don't think people understand that what the most important thing about investing in yourself, let's agree on something before we disagree on anything, right? The biggest investment that you'll ever make in your life is not real estate, it's not a nice car
Stocks.
or stocks. It's yourself,
That's right.
right? So when I speak about investing in yourself and going to these seminars, reading all these books, getting all these courses and trainings, um knowledge, as we know, knowledge is power, right?
Mhm,
With knowledge you can create, essentially you can create wealth, you can do more, you can serve more, help others more, you could even teach more, right?
mhm.
That's what really shifted my mindset from being someone that was like, oh, I'll just spend my money here and there on bills and regular life. um
And what it did is it stretched you, right? It pulled you beyond proportion. It's like a former guest that I just interviewed who I will be releasing next week. He told me how, he came up across a book and it said, bite more than you can chew. Go ahead and bite more than you can
yeah,
chew. Forget about what people have said in the past to not do that. I'm telling you to do that. And it
yeah.
really forces you to grow to that next level, right? Is what we look for anyway in the first place when we come to these events.
Yeah, and I really like that quote, "Bite more than you can chew." I'm gonna have to start saying that because
Yeah.
growing up, and I'm sure somebody listening to this right now can relate, but growing up, we were told, "Don't bite more than you can chew,"
Hmm.
right? And it's like,
To
why
mess
not?
this
Oh,
up.
it's because you'll choke, and
Yeah.
it's like that fear, right? They're implementing that fear. Take a look at the people. Try to remember if you've ever been told that. Take a look at the people that have said that to you. Are they in a position where you want to be? Would you switch shoes with them if you could switch lives with them today? Would you do it? Right? And
No.
if the answer is no, right, then don't listen to those people. Now, if you bite more than you can chew, yes, you will choke, but you won't die, right?
Yeah.
And you'll be forced to get a bigger mouth if we're still metaphorically speaking here. But what it really comes down to is that you're going to expand. And that's what I see in Marisol. Is I see her investing. I think you just came back from Florida like less than 2 months ago, right?
That's right. I went to visit Tony Robbins. He had an in studio appearance, limited to about 1,000 people. I stretched myself. At the time, you look at your bank account, you look at your credit card, and you're like, okay, let's make this work. But not many people would probably be brave enough to pull that trigger. But you come to a point where you have to convince yourself that the return on investment will be 10 times greater than whatever it is that you're spending now when it
Yeah.
comes to self-improvement.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you have to. I know it's gonna sound crazy, and this is coming from a risk taker, right? But you have to go in blindly sometimes, and not blindly exactly, but just have enough information to where you're like, okay, this is something that maybe will get me to that next step,
I think it's more
right?
so a leap of faith too,
There you go.
because uh, as another guest of mine has said, as entrepreneurs, business owners, people starting off on something that you can't really see the end of, you don't see the final destination, the finish line of whatever it is that you're embarking on, but you got to believe it, right? It's that faith in the unseen. And so it could be not only toward a religion, a faith in God, right? That's you can't see that, but also apply it to your business, right? You can't see the end result, but you got to believe it in here in your mind and in your heart first.
Absolutely. That actually reminds me, if you remember, I think I've told you a few times this, but when I first met you at that event, keep in mind, I didn't pay anything out of my pocket. I had to put that on a credit card, that event,
Mm,
because I had no money, right? I
mhm,
was I was dead broke. I was going through a shift of employment,
mhm.
and what happened was, my mind was, you know what, I'm gonna force myself to grow. And that's
Yes.
exactly what I did. I didn't know what was gonna happen after that event, but luck. I don't know if it's luck. There's a good quote out there that says, "The harder you work, the luckier you get."
Yeah.
The
You
more you
create
surround
your own luck.
yourself, yeah, you create your own luck, right? And I was looking for a new career at the time. Somebody that I met at that event was able to essentially recruit me.
Point you into the direction, right? So
Yeah,
Martin, he loves music. That's his passion. That's what he wants to do night and day. But at the same time, maybe you listening also, you would like another stream of income besides that to then have some more cushion and propel that dream of yours. So that's exactly what Martin has done. Keep going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, my music is number one, as crazy as that sounds, because I know you asked me right before we started. I think you asked me to talk about how have I been able to stay in this, you know?
Yes.
It's just one of those things where I believe so hard, right? I see the vision already before it's happened.
Mhm.
And it's crazy because everything I have ever foreseen um
Has come true.
has come true at one point or another. I mean,
That's
I'm
so
gonna
awesome.
yeah, I'm gonna shout out Albertopreciado here. I
Woo!
hope he's watching this or listening to this. I'm sorry. But I'm just gonna put an example with him.
Mhm.
There was a time 2 years ago where I just saw him on stage for the first time. I was just one out of hundreds of people that he never knew, right? I was just in the back
Yeah.
row to myself. But the more I showed up, right, the more I pursued this idea of one day all I wanted to do was one day meet him, shake his hand, and take a photo. Like it was almost like a celebrity type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, wait a minute, this is not really my this is not really it. I
Mhm.
want to meet the guy for real, you know? And so I literally started, kind of plotting in my head. I was like, you know what? What if I make him a song? And then so what I did was I
Thinking
started,
outside the box.
yeah, and I started saying, what if I serve? What if instead of just saying like, oh, meet me, who am I, right?
Right.
But I was like, well, there's one thing that always works is to get people's attention, you have to show up and give, right? So I got really close to his closest circle. We all became mutual friends. Some of them are very, very humble and wealthy and very intelligent individuals that I have on my cell phone. Like I can literally call them up right now and they'll answer, right?
I
Um,
agree.
but the amazing thing about that is that they guided me towards the direction of making my essentially it was a dream, my dream come true. I started being told, I started people were telling me like, "Oh, you should make a song for him." And I was like, "What? That's crazy that I already had that idea." Like
Said
people are
and
telling me,
done.
right?
Beautiful, beautiful. And then let's get into when you actually debuted that song.
Yeah, so yeah, so long story short, I actually, was able to get his attention and Marisol helped me a lot as well. Thank you, Marisol. You sent
I got you, Martin.
his assistant. You spammed her with the song, and she sent it to him as well, and so did I. And I sent it to all our mutual friends, which are
Yeah.
essentially his like top producers for his company as
And
well.
there's such great people, you guys. If you're listening to this, drivenevent.com, so you know what we mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all individuals there are aspiring people to look up to, honestly, and amazing people. But without them, even without them, this is what it comes down to. I wouldn't have been able to make this happen. I think it was probably less than 2 months ago, right? That he had a birthday bash, a mini
Barely. Yeah, it was, in August,
August, right?
I believe, and, he had a nice event with very good speakers, and, yeah, that song was the highlight of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was honestly a dream come true. Like tying back to what I was saying earlier, guys. The most important thing is to go in blindly and have the vision. I know that kind of sounds like opposites, right? But when you have the vision, you can technically still go in without seeing everything is for sure. Eventually it'll happen when you persist so hard, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I see what you mean there. You're reminding the listener, "Hey, you don't have to have all your ducks in a row. You don't have to wait until the perfect time. There's no perfect time.
oh
You
no.
just create the atmosphere, the environment of receptivity, and just go for it."
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly, I'm blessed and grateful to have had that happen. I truly believe it was a work of God. I don't even want to blame myself in in this position, because yes, I did things that probably aligned me to make it happen.
Mhm.
But I truly want to say deep down inside, something bigger than something in my power, in my hands, was able to grant me that opportunity. I At that event where he had those great speakers, as soon as it was over, I think I was I think I was just scoping out the area. I was like, okay, all the speakers are done for the day. Great speakers, by the way. Took a lot of notes that day. Um,
Oh, yeah, me too.
but I had a goal. I had a goal that day, right? And I drove. I think I drove 5 hours. And booked a hotel and everything. I even missed a day of work, I believe, for this. And it was just so important for me. I was like, this is going to happen because I've already set all the dominoes in line.
Mhm.
All I have to do is just knock them, right?
And that first one, have the courage, the bravery. You've already went through the preparation, so all you needed to do is a gentle tap right on that first domino.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I went downstairs because it was like 2 3 story
Yeah.
mansion. And I went downstairs to where the event was, and there was just like the DJ was there with the dance floor empty.
Mhm.
Everybody was just socializing, and then I see Marisol, and she's like, "Go,
Yeah.
go get
Play your
it."
song. Now's the time.
Right? And that was what I came for, like, essentially 2 years of getting to know Albert Preciado, uh, going to showing up to the same rooms where he is every time I get the chance, and, going as far as even having the opportunity to create the song for him and have him listen to it. Um,
And
once I
songs are so meaningful. They tell a story. They can honor a person. How beautiful it is that you made the song in reverence of Albertopreciado while he's still alive, right? He was able to listen to it. It wasn't a tribute like Michael Jackson. People do songs for
Right.
him right now. Poor Michael, he can't listen to it. So it's I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, you're yeah,
it's just
that's
it goes back to the creator. If you want to create something with Martin, please, please contact him because this is a forever project that can stay published for, for generations to come.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of art, right? Music. Even touching on Michael Jackson, I mean, he's gone for now, right? But he
Oh,
will
but
forever
legend.
live,
Yeah.
right? Because of the music he left behind. And it's the same thing, in this case. I i i uh i admire Albert's work ethic and the life that he's created so much, that I was like, you know what, I think what will fit him best is if I make a song that's technically his story,
Mhm.
which I've learned his story over and over again. I did my research, my hours of watching and listening to videos that I would repeat. All the events he that I've gone to where he speaks, he tells his story. So I knew it like the back of my head. But even then, I went out of the way. Um,
Did
I don't
more
know.
research, right?
Yeah,
Because you spoke with his top producers, his inner circle, and you got more data.
and shout out to if John Delgado is listening to this.
Yes, thank you,
He
John.
he said, dude, if you're gonna make him a song, make him a EDM song. That's what he likes. And I was like, I've never
Perfect.
I've
He
never
laid it
made an
down.
EDM song. So
Mhm.
it was one of those things where, again, preparation meets opportunity, right? I
And the
wasn't
leap of faith.
really, yeah, in the leap of faith. I wasn't really prepared to make an EDM song. but the opportunity was there. I was prepared to make him a song at all costs, right?
Yes.
And so as soon as I got those puzzle pieces together, I got to work. I'm gonna go ahead and share,
Yeah, please do.
Marisol, if you don't mind, how I worked that one, because we
Oh,
spoke
please.
about how we created yours,
Yeah.
but let's so this is how it went down, guys. At the same event where I met Marisol back in February of 2022, um, I got Albertopreciado to speak with me. I think I put him to the side. Oh no, Anthony, his videographer. Shout out to Anthony Corona if you're listening to this, bro. You changed my life with this. uh,
Yeah.
so I think we were in line to get food, and he turns around. He's like, "Hey, dude, you're the rapper," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, I have this video of you rapping," and I was like, "Oh, nice." And he's like, "Yeah, send me your email, I'll send it to you." And I'm like, "All right, I'll send you my email, dude, but I want to share with you that I want to make Albert Preciado a song and a music video." And he's like, he didn't even say anything. He just grabbed me from, like, kind of guided me by the shoulder and just took me to Albert. And I'm right here standing in front of Albert, and I see him looking at me like straight face, right, ready for me to speak.
Yeah.
And I have to like pour everything out, like all those 2 years of work of trying to get that
Research.
conversation.
Yeah. Or oh, that initial encounter.
Yeah, that initial encounter for me to even present it,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm telling him, I'm like, Albert, bro, I want to tell you, like, I want to make you a song. We're gonna blow it up. We're gonna make a bad music video, as in bad as in good,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna explode it, and it's gonna help you grow, like, your brand and everything. And
It
he
goes
looks
both
at
ways, yeah.
yeah, and he looks at me, and he's like, and then he looks at Anthony, and then he grabs my lanyard. I think I have the lanyard right there in the on the wall. He grabs my lanyard, and he's like, I'm only paying attention to him because he puts his money where his mouth is. And
Yes.
Anthony's like, okay. And then he looks back at me, and Albert's like, impress me, and I'm all in. And as soon as he said that, my my mind kind of like went fast forward. It was like, whoa, everything came together in that
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
right? So that same week, I stayed in that city. I think it was Huntington Beach. I stayed in that city, guys, for another 7 days. You'll never believe how this song came about. So what I did was I said, you know what? I'm going to drive to Bel Air.
Mhm.
I'm going to see two things. First of all, oh, and then Anthony had told me to name the song El Príncipe de Bel Air, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air in Spanish,
Perfect title, by the way.
because that's what Albert likes to call himself, and he is. He's earned that title respectfully. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this for two reasons. First and foremost, I want to know why he moved to Bel Air. Let's go see this city and try to get some inspiration. Second of all, the whole drive there, I think it was a 2 hour drive. The whole drive there, I'm playing the Fresh Prince of Bel Air theme song by Will Smith.
Mm.
And I'm playing it over and over again, trying to get the lyrics, I'm like, why was this song the intro episode of that show? So this song was so meaningful to Will Smith that it was the introduction to every episode of that show, right? If anybody's watched the Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel Air show. So I'm listening to the song on the way there, and I'm looking at, I get to Bel Air, and I'm driving, and I see these huge 10, 20, 30, $50 million mansions everywhere. And I'm like, wow, this is a little bit different from the hood, from where I come from.
Oh, yeah. Night and day.
Right? So I was like inspired, to say the least. So I go to work. I start driving around again. I start driving around Huntington Beach, and I start playing beats while I drive. I'm like, I need to find a beat, an EDM beat that everybody will like.
So
Obviously,
you're
that
going
Alberto will like.
in circles at this point, just driving around, thinking.
Yeah, pretty much. That was my way. That was my way of that was my workspace, if I could say. That
Yes.
it was like, okay, I have full focus on what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna drive around and do this because I don't have a studio in Huntington Beach to just stop by, right?
Right.
So
Did he
you have
take your equipment?
I
Yeah.
did, but I don't think I don't think I needed it that time because it was more so of just creating the song at first,
Yeah.
like laying down the foundation, which was finding the beat and creating the lyrics. And as soon as I found the beat, I started driving around, and then I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go back to Huntington Beach to that same hotel where Albert pretty much allowed me to pursue this, to make the song. So I literally snuck into the hotel to the exact same floor, the exact same room where he told me, and where Anthony and I and him and Albert were there. And I was like, you know what? This is where I'm gonna make it. And it was alone in there. I started playing the beat, and I took out my notepad and I started writing the lyrics.
Wow, I want you guys to notice this. Take note how he positions himself back to that initial point where that consent, in other words, was given. And he just put his head down. He did a brain dump and he just started brainstorming. And then one thing leads to the other and leads to the other. And you did it.
Yeah,
Applause, applause.
thank you. Honestly, it's a huge deal for me because it's one of those things where I've created a lot of songs in my life.
Mhm.
But this one was very special, not only because it was very selfless of me, it was for someone else instead of, creating something for myself.
Right.
But most importantly, the way it came about, I think the people always say like the journey is more important than the end
Destination.
result,
Yeah.
right? Exactly, the destination. So it was one of those things where the journey was way better than the destination for this point. And I was just excited to present it to him. I was able to, and I sang it in person in front of him in August. And he loved it. He pulled me to the side. He's like, hey, I want to talk to you. And this guy is super busy. Albert, you're really busy, man. And it's
Yeah.
awesome.
We appreciate the one-on-one time with you. I know it's very scarce, but it's very quality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember I was he pulled me to the side and I was right there, and like people kept bombarding him and I kept letting them speak to him because I was like, all right, I
Speak
could
to
let
him
them go
after.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just bombarding him, and then like 10 minutes later finally I'm right there with him, and he's like, "Hey man, I love the song." And I'm like, "Thank you, man." And I shared with him how I made it, and he was like, "That's awesome." And I actually got to speak with um Kyle Draper, awesome man as well. He's a real estate genius in right there in the LA area,
With a background in music.
a background of music. And that really intrigued me when he spoke about his music background, because I presented the idea to him. It was one of those things again where position yourself accordingly, and
Mhm.
things will happen, right? So I think I had pulled Kyle to the side that day, and I asked him like, "Hey, dude, if you don't mind me asking, like, what advice could you give me, for me to present this to Albert?" And he was like, "Oh, dude, you guys got to make a bad music video. Excuse my language, but bad ass."
Yeah.
Right? And it was just awesome to hear from someone that had background music and is super close to Albert himself. And that's exactly what I did. So now next thing is the music video with Albert and hopefully Anthony is able to help me out with that. Like
Oh,
we
yeah. That'll happen by default. And then next thing you know, guys, position yourself to have opportunities, right? He built his own luck as an example, and things will just continue, right? His work will keep speaking volumes. And his presentation at the end of the day, the delivery, that is what will be very memorable. So, to wrap up, since we're almost nearing 1 hour, and our listeners, myself included, when I'm listening to other shows, we've got, other things to do, short attention spans, what have you. But what does 1 billion, un billion mindset mean to you?
To me, 1 billion or un billion, I think it means the impact you can make in life. I think as human beings, I like to believe, because I'm like this myself, but I like to believe that we're here on earth to help others, to help each other. Most importantly, it took me a lot of time and hard lessons to learn that, but um, I I think when you, whether it's $1 billion that you want, essentially you can help more people. You know, you could probably donate 1 million to charity, and it won't even hurt you if you have 1 billion, right?
Mhm.
um or if it's 1 billion, things that you want in life, it doesn't have to always be money. It could be 1 billion fans, or 1 billion plays in your music. It's it's very possible for anything to um to happen, as long as you have a mission, a purpose. And to me, I mean, most importantly, I'm coming for that 1 billion, and
That's right.
it's not just the finances, it's not just the money, it's not about the money, it's the fact that money, as we have accepted it, is a tool,
Right.
right? And when you can do certain things, look at the current billionaires. They're able to make a bit of an impact on society. And we always see that one way or another, their finances are able to make it happen.
And impact is here to stay. How can our listeners contact you?
The best way to contact me is on Instagram at Savage Saint FTW. That's Savage Saint FTW.
For the win, everybody. So definitely follow him and keep following us at Un Beyond Mindset. And we will see you on the next show. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Marisol. Thank you, everybody.
Está en mi mente, yo sé que es mucha gente, 1 billón está